It's been a while since I've done a speed paint with commentary. It's been 1 or 2 years since I've done one because I've been improving my art, not on camera, but I'm going to return with speed paints and commentary now for a game I finished a month or two ago, American Mcgee's Alice. This video won't be about the canceled third game too much because there are enough videos about that, and this video will also contain a little bit of Alice Other Lands, but not too much. I just don't want to talk about Alice Asylum too much since that game got canceled. Both games that I will discuss are rated for mature 17+, mainly for its dark themes and dark storyline. It's just not for the faint of heart, so I guess don't watch this video if you don't feel like you can handle listening to some of the things I say. This video will also contain spoilers as I will be giving out my thoughts about these two games. Without further ado though, if you're okay and still watching, let's get started. So I've played both games and they are both going to stay in my heart forever. Let's start with the first game. American Mcgee's Alice starts off with a house fire that seems to have been caused by the cat knocking down their oil lamp. Alice is the only one who escapes the house, leaving her parents to die in the fire. And Alice is sent to a psychiatric clinic as she is emotionally traumatized from it. While in the asylum, she takes a mental trip to Wonderland. Now, the third game was supposed to be a prequel kind of Alice's first trip to Wonderland, which I think they did change in the book, but I'm not entirely sure. But it was going to be a prequel, but that was canceled. So the first game, but the first actual game that came out, the one I'm talking about, was likely her second trip to Wonderland, somewhere around there, in which now Wonderland is broken and disfigured because of Alice's broken mind. So Alice must fix Wonderland, which she ended up breaking herself. The first game came out in 2000 for Windows XP and Mac OS. Later on, you could play it on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 if you brought the second game. I played it on the computer I have now via, Axe. I didn't really have another option as it was hard to get the game otherwise, and I didn't have a computer to take discs because it was originally also a disc game, Windows XP. Yeah, that's old. It was the first time I played an old 3D game because the only other older games I really played were the original Sonic games, and that was on Sonic Origins. Was it really old? Not really. I loved the game and the vibe it gave. I've always been crazy for scary things and messed up stories, and so Messed Up Wonderland was up my alley. But oh my goodness, I was not prepared for how much better it could get. The first game seemed scarier due to the old state it was in. It made your brain fill in the blanks to what was going on in some areas because it was an old game. Everything was like polygons or whatever you want to call it. So it was a completely new vibe. The character designs were great though, it was understandable, the backgrounds and the first story was good. My favorite character is probably Cheshire Cat because he was so out of pocket and funny a ton of the time, putting humor into the games. The bosses were interesting and the weapons were awesome, especially the Jack-in-the-Box that exploded with fire. Yep. And I can't forget about her iconic Vorpal blade and her stuffed toy rabbit that she has throughout the games. I also liked the mock turtle in the first game. I know a lot of these characters are the same as in the original Alice book, but I still really like the turtle shell idea combined with a cow. And the Duchess wanted to eat him, hence why he is named the mock turtle, which is a type of soup, I'm pretty sure. I've also really liked Griffin since I love mythical creatures. I like Griffin because he helped Alice in the game after she freed him from his cage. Super sad that Griffin died in the first game, although I'm assuming he was most likely revived, once Alice saved Wonderland and herself. I'm not entirely sure though, he might still be dead. I don't think he appeared in the second game, so. Anyways, the Queen of Hearts design was new and unique. She wasn't portrayed with a big head, and her true form had a bunch of tentacles and stuff like that, and she was wearing a mask and everything. I'm not sure if this is true, but in the second game I had a theory that the Queen of Hearts was kind of like Lizzie Little, Alice's sister, from how she looked. But I don't think that was true, and it was just my theory. I'm pretty sure the Queen of Hearts was meant to be Alice when she was younger instead, and not her sister. We'll be talking about her sister more when I speak about the second game. The bad guy in the first game was the Queen of Hearts, or the Red Queen actually, really. And we'll learn more about her in the second game too, yeah. She's the final boss as she turns into a tentacled monster to attack Alice. Destroying her fixes Wonderland, reviving everyone who had died on the journey, and it repairs Alice's mind as well. The second game expanded the story by a ton, making us question what we thought was true in the first game sometimes too. The second game was released in 2011 for PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Alice Little was now free from the asylum as she was deemed sane enough. However, the memories still continued to haunt Alice in the second game. She wanted to know what truly happened. Did the fire really just happen because the cat knocked over the oil lamp? And Alice, suffering from schizophrenia and hallucinations, causes Wonderland to once again shatter into a terrible state. Now she must save Wonderland again, but also venture into the real world to discover what really happened. Alice also had a therapist named Dr. Bumby, I will mention because he comes back later. The Cheshire Cat greets Alice in Wonderland, telling her that there's a new ruler in Wonderland. Upon helping the Mad Hatter, Alice came in contact with something called the Infernal Train. The Infernal Train is a huge train that is moving and destroying everything in its path. It's usually accompanied by fire and can be described as a demonic train. The fire and the train can be seen as a symbol for Alice's struggle. The fire still haunts her and the train just won't stop. Alice has to figure out what's causing this. Alice next meets Carpenter, who needs help with his show. Carpenter soon betrays her, however, trapping her in a ghost-filled cemetery. Alice managed to get out, getting angry at Carpenter, to which he explains that he was only trying to protect Wonderland from the infernal train, since it was Alice's fault that the train even existed, hence why he trapped her. He told Alice to go find Caterpillar. Caterpillar knew everything. Occasionally, as the story went on, Alice sometimes awoke from Wonderland, in which she tried to find more information about how her family died. However, no one seemed to want to give her answers on what they thought was the cause of the fire. All she had was Dr. Bumby, her therapist, who told her it was caused by the cat named Dinah. Once Alice came in contact with Caterpillar back in Wonderland, he surrounded Alice in smoke, bringing her into Oriental Grove, Caterpillar's domain. As Alice fought more battles, some of her memory returned to her. On the night of the fire, Dinah the cat was with her the whole time, and the only oil lamp in the house was upstairs, meaning the cat didn't start the fire. So Dr. Bumby was either wrong or he had lied to her. Caterpillar then reminded her that if she saved Wonderland, she'd also be saving herself, and he told her to go find the Queen of Hearts. The Queen of Hearts was not happy to see her, sending an executioner after her, eventually using her tentacles to swallow Alice and send her into a nightmare. Next, Alice went to the dollhouse to save the insane children there. With this, Alice would learn that the person controlling the infernal train and everything bad was the doll maker, who resembled Dr. Bumby a lot. After this, Alice awoke again, confronting Dr. Bumby, as we would also learn earlier that Alice had a sister named Elizabeth, or Lizzie for short. She accused Dr. Bumby for abusing the children and destroying their innocence. Dr. Bumby casually confirmed this, revealing that he indeed did that, and that he also Alice's sister and tried to turn Alice herself into a mindless sex slave. Alice learned from Caterpillar and the Queen of Hearts back in Wonderland that it wasn't Lizzie talking in her sleep making the noise during the night of the fire, meaning she indeed was. It was at least hinted, but Alice probably heard her strangled moans or cries. Dr. Bumby had then probably killed her before starting the fire himself. After an internal boss battle with the doll maker, or Dr. Bumby in Wonderland, Alice awoke again, pushing Dr. Bumby into an oncoming train, ultimately killing him. He deserved that though, to be fair. I left a lot of stuff out from both games, so if you were still planning to play both games, a lot of stuff is still going to be new and great to you. I personally loved this game, as I already mentioned, for its dark themes and horror aspect. By the end of the game too, it was hinted that Alice still hallucinated occasionally, as she would never be perfect, which is quite realistic to real-life schizophrenia patients. I also very much love the intricate detail on everything in the games, like Alice's Vorpal blade and her countless different dresses she has in the game. Each one is unique and matches Alice in a nice way. I enjoy how the dresses match each environment Alice is in. I've also noticed that the pepper grinder is a nice reference to the Alice in Wonderland book, Chapter 6, Pig and Pepper. The symbols in Alice Madness are also nice. It's something you have to think about, but it is enough to get me to understand the symbol of the fire and the train. Without spoiling myself, I also made a guess that Dr. Bumby was the bad guy before it was even explained. Even a little bit of humor was mixed in thanks to Cheshire Cat. There was nothing I could hate about the game, not that I'd ever want to hate it either. I'd recommend playing it even if you've made it this far into the video. If you can. Otherwise, you can always watch a long play on it. After the second game, 2 short animations were uploaded onto YouTube on American Mcgee's YouTube channel for a small series called Alice Otherlands. They were both uploaded on October 30th, 2015, most likely at the same time. One was called Night at the Opera, and it was a stop motion of Alice hallucinating a theater as she was thinking about getting a job. After that, she decides she doesn't want to go to theaters for a while. The second one is called Leviathan. This one was most likely a 2D but 3D-like animation. I couldn't really tell if it was 2D or 3D. Alice is with a guy named Dr. Burns, and she asks him what he fears most, which she soon finds out he fears the destruction of mankind by ourselves. Otherlands was our last closure to the Alice series, unless you count the 400-plus page book of Alice Asylum, which we all know Alice Asylum got canceled thanks to EA, but that's a topic that has been discussed many times over. I won't be talking too much about Alice Asylum because if there was ever a game of that made now, the story may change and a lot of aspects would be changed while making it. A lot would only be semi-canon as it was never fully put into production. It's like taking a book and making it into a movie. There are some things that are going to stay the same, but some things are going to change. As much as I'd love the third Alice game to be released, EA has decided to cancel it and they won't give the rights back to American Mcgee, so we won't be getting one, at least not anytime soon. Currently, EA holds the IP, so even fan-made stuff, if a fan tried to make the game, may get the copyright hammer and be done. A lot of people have already said amazing things about the games that I may be repeating if I said more. All I guess I really wanted to say is you should play the games or at least watch them on YouTube. They are a gem that will forever stay in a lot of people's hearts, including my own. I've wanted to draw fan art for the game for a while. I'd wanted to draw Wonderland Alice and London Alice, but I originally thought I'd want to make it like looking into a mirror. But that came from the problem of where I'd put them. I didn't just want a random mirror floating outside or something. So I changed my objective and decided doing a reflection in the water with an area kind of like the beginning of Alice Madness Returns. This was my first time really attempting backgrounds, let alone water, so I spent about an hour just on the background before I actually started Alice. I also switched from a wide canvas to a higher one later on, since that made life easier for this. The wide canvas was originally for a YouTube thumbnail, but I figured Alice would be too small in that one to see it. Also, not on video, but on the end product, I played with the water reflections a bit more to make it really look like a reflection and not a clear image. I'm really proud of this drawing. It looks totally different than when I last drew on this channel. I've done a lot of off-camera drawing. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go play the game if you can, or watch the game. It's really good, although it is rated mature, so just be careful about that. And goodbye.